at the Qiantang River. You can take a look at this house and surrounding me all those high rises. But why we have an old house staying here? Let's take a 1 minute clip to take a look at the history of the Luo's house. So through this clip, you can gain some basic knowledge about this old cultural house. And so this cultural house has an area of 800 square meters. So today, from this program, we can give you more knowledge about this house. And to do that, we have invited Miss Chang. Say hello to our viewers. Hi, I'm one of the government officials working at the sub-district level, and so now let's have a tour of this house. Can you tell us the structure of this house? So it has two courtyards actually. It accounts for 800 square meters. So this is the typical architectural layout in China's southeast. So how come it was preserved until present? It was originally built in the Daoguang years of Qing dynasty, and to this day it has the history of 200 years. It used to be a school, then it was a factory, then it became a shelter for the residents, and before the restoration, this house accommodated 16 families, and in 2004, a private company engaged in preservation and restoration of this old house. So it has basically recovered its original looks. So we're still standing on those old foundations, but we have elevated the columns and also the pillars. So this is why it takes a new look. So you can also take a look at those stone stools, and we have also replaced some of the old parts. So why is this house called the Luo's house? Well, because it was originally the drugstore owned by someone surnamed Luo. So to this day, the function of the Luo's house has changed dramatically. So we have a senior citizen who is practicing calligraphy here. Yes, so this is Mr. He. So this is an art gallery, and Mr. He is a calligraphy, and you can take a look at this character. Chao in Chinese, it means tide. So Mr. He, can you write this character again and tell us what you need to pay attention to when you write this character? So the Qiantang tidal bar is going on these days, and a couple of days ago, we saw news that the tide water even swam down to the road. So to write this character, you need to first and foremost understand what kind of form you want to choose. So if you know this for a very long time, you will write it this way. So how long have you been living here? I have been here all my lifetime. So what is your culture? What is your understanding about the tide culture? So the Qiantang River tide is closely related to all of us living here, and it's very famous here, not just here, but across the whole country, and it's even famous in the whole world. So I believe that the local culture is just booming as the tide. So I want to ask you, what is your understanding about the tide? I think there are two folds of meanings, and the first is that this enterprising spirit, and also fashion and trendy culture. And so this is a old house, but within this house, we presented some new elements. And let me bring you to another room. Because we are approaching the mid-autumn day, we are making some lanterns. So you can take a look at this one. So this is a jade rabbit on the moon. So this is a trendy object. This is a culturally creative object. So it's the combination of the moon and the jade rabbit. All right, now let's enter this room. So what are you doing? So we are making a lantern. So why do you make a lantern? So we want to make a lot of decorations, and this is also the tradition here. Do you often come here? Yes. So I'm a local here. So now let's follow our camera. Everybody's making a lantern here. So this is part of the local tradition here. And when approaching the mid-autumn day, people are gonna make lanterns and also mooncakes. So are you waving at me? Yes. So I wanted to come and have a try on this. So are you trying this first time? Yes. Are you enjoying yourself? Yes, of course, I'm enjoying myself. So you just need to stick them together and then fold. And when you fold, you can get a lantern. So do I need to put this strip here? So this gentleman here is very interested in making a lantern. So how do you like it, making a lantern in this very old Lord's house? I like it. So life has become happier, a lot of cultural activities these days. All right. So one of the lanterns is already fully made, so it's just beautiful. So who do you want to send the wishes to? What wishes do you have? I would like to wish all the people in China a very happy Mid-Autumn Day. Thank you very much. So thank you very much. And you just send the wishes to all the people watching, and maybe even to the outside world. So you can see people of different ages are here, and here on this side of the room we have some children. So they represent the future of this country. And so near the Lord's house we have kindergartens, we have primary schools. So this is truly a very vibrant neighborhood. So the Lord's house is just a place for them to have some recreations. Sometimes when the parents take their children from the kindergarten, they can bring their children here to have some relaxed time. So here in this house we saw the past, we also see the future. So say hi to our viewers. So after the lantern making, let's take a look at what is going on in this house. So in addition to those traditional stuff, there is also a lot of modern elements. And let's just follow the camera. Let's take a look at the giant screen. So this is the front courtyard. So this is actually the front hall, and we have some theme exhibitions going on a regular basis here, and this is jointly organized by the sub-district level, and we have some exhibitions ongoing. And in the old time, this is the guest room. So in old days, this is the guest room, and when a guest comes, this is the place where you hang over with your friends. So now we have transformed this side of the wall into a giant screen, and this is the city brain. And this city brain is showing what is going on at this time of the day in this city. So, Mr. Zhu, can you tell us what this is about? So, we are pretty close to the East Railway Station. So, we have 150,000 people living nearby. We cover an area of 15 square kilometers. And so, the East Railway Station is the east gate of the city, and there are a lot of dynamic information here covering social governance, demographic structure, social livelihood, and this is backed by a huge database behind it. For example, you now see there are a lot of non-tangible cultural heritages, and so we are the home to Zhejiang's non-tangible cultural heritage, and according to statistics, we have more than 100 non-tangible cultural heritages, and the Qiantang River is just one provincial level of non-tangible cultural heritage at the provincial level. So we also have some cultural heritages at the municipal level, at the district level. So this is a map of this district. We cover 19 residential communities. So what are the wisdom? What are the new smart technologies that you use in governing those social residential communities? So this is the smart brain of ours. So we are truly taking the lead in smart management. So what can you do with this smart technology? I think we can dramatically improve social livelihood, and you can do a lot of operations online. You don't need to travel outdoors to promote your products, and so you can handle a lot of stuff online. For example, we have a place called Yangliujun. So Yangliujun wants to become a future community. So it has a lot of data projects, digital technology. So this is a set table of our community. We have the Qiantang New Town. I think you are all very familiar with it. They have very spectacular light shows. And we also have Gangbei New Town, so which is in this direction. So is that true that this community is becoming more inclusive? It's expanding, just like the tide? Yes. So this represents the industrial enterprising spirit of the locals here. So why you call yourself the Pengbu people? So the Peng is just a surname, and Bu is a dock or a port. So you can see a lot of old ports in this place in the past, and right now we have become a transportational hub, and you can see that the East Railway Station is located here. So when we have a railway station here, we can significantly and very effectively amass all the wells here. So you just need to get off the train from the Hangzhou East Railway Station, and then you will be here. So it's just several minutes walk from here. So we have a lot of smart elements here in Pengbu, but we also have a lot of cultural elements. Tell us what historical figures that you have. So we have a lot of famous historical figures. We have Zhu Wencao, we have Zhai Hao. So Zhai Hao, he is a very famous poet in Qing Dynasty, and he is from here. And if you are from the business community, you know Huang Zheng. He is the founder and the CEO of Pinduoduo, a very popular shopping site. And we also have Zhai Hengtai. So Zhai Hengtai is actually a famous brand with very good reputation for a very long time. So we also have Xiayan Primary School. I think you are all familiar with Xia Yan. So Xia Yan is a playwright. He's also a social activist. So he grew up in Pengpu. So Xia Yan has passed away, but he has left us with a great legacy. For example, a lot of the schools, middle schools, primary schools are named after him. Yes, from here we can have a brief understanding about the history of Pengpu. So these figures, these excellent figures, they are the best representative of Pengpu. So we are broadcasting this program live on China Central Television and also on CGTN. We have a gift for all the viewers. So later, Mr. Zhu is going to give you a quiz. So we're going to have some interactions, and so leave your comments, and we're going to have a screenshot. When you appear on our screenshot, you will get this gift. So dear viewers, so on August the 18th, we have the Qiantang tide, and the Qiantang tide is second to none. So my question here is that, do we have the tide every day, or do we have it a certain date every month? So just need to answer this question, yes or no. All right, let me repeat this question. Do we have the tide every day or not? Yes or no. So you have 50% of the chance of getting this gift. All right, let's follow Mr. Zhu to this part. So this is a open door area of the courtyard. So the neighbors, the residents living here, and their original house were demolished. So this has become the place where they come and gather and have a lot of fun. So are you enjoying yourself? Are you having fun? Yes. Do you come here often? Yes, we come here often. So what is the topic of conversation here? Yeah, we talk a lot of stuff. For example, tea. So here we have flower decoration. So this is the season for flower decoration. So can you say hello to our viewers? What are we doing here? So we are putting these flowers in a vase. So she's actually teaching us. So we always believe this is a young fashion. This is something the young people do. So what are you teaching us here? So this is actually flower arrangement, and she's telling us what flower you need to put in first and what you need to put in the very final stages, and what kind of cave or what kind of curve or shape you need to put in first. So you can have a smell. So we just brought some kitchenware today. So you can randomly pick up a kitchenware and bring it here. Well, I'm jealous of the people here, and look at these people. They live here. This is a old courtyard house, but look at these activities. They are very fast. They are trendy. They are fashionable. Yes, we have also music festivals. We have oil paintings. We have talk shows. So truly, this is a very happy neighborhood. You can enjoy the tea, do some flower arrangements. Now let's come into this room. So this is just like a old classroom. So today they have some ancient mathematics class. So the teacher is teaching them how to play abacus. So when was the last time you used abacus? Well, it has been a very long time. I believe that if you use abacus, you can train your brain, you can practice your fingers. And I used to have very dumb fingers. And so it's just like playing a toy, and it's also a very good practice of your brain. And so I used to have very stubborn and very dumb fingers, but right now, after playing the abacus for a very long time, I have very flexible fingers, and I don't have any issue using the chopsticks anymore. So it can refresh your brain. So this is the Luo's house. I believe it's part of your memory. So how does it feel having such activity in this place? I'm very I'm very much enjoying this. And when the demolition project was going on, we had a lot of worries that this house may be demolished. But the district government made the right decision to return this building. So this is a very good decision, and the locals here will just come here on a regular basis. We drink tea, we play the abacus, we also do fashion shows. We dress on the Chinese qipao. So this has become a place where people gather for fun, for recreation. So truly, this has become a center of their spiritual life. So on an ordinary day, we may have calligraphy class, we may have music class. So this are provided to this neighborhood for free. So I believe we are doing this to meet their satisfaction, to meet their aspiration for a better life. So I believe that there is a lot that we can do to help improve the lives of the locals. So this can also help consolidate the friendship amongst the locals because they are neighbors. A lot of them, they are classmates. They grew up together. Truly, I'm touched by this. And look at those lanterns. This lady is clearly showing off her lantern. So there is a lot of sense of achievement, and this is something that is lacking in our life today, and we truly need this. We have to bring to a new life those traditional elements, and this is also the spirit of the tide, and we have to constantly refresh ourselves. All right, I can already smell the fragrance. What is this? Well, this is the fragrance of the mooncakes, and I don't know if you can smell this, but this is truly delicious. And you can take a look at what they are doing, and this is how the people in Pengbu make mooncakes. So I don't know how our viewers celebrate the Mid-Autumn Day, but take a look at what these people are doing. They are making mooncakes. So let's have some word with the teacher here. So what are you teaching them to do today? So we are using some fresh fillings, and it's sausages. So when did you come here? I came here from a long time ago. So traditionally, people don't make mooncakes themselves. But right now, we have very good logistics system, and you can very easily purchase a lot of the raw materials, and that is why a lot of the people, they're just practicing their skills. So do you buy mooncakes or make your own mooncakes? Well, traditionally, we just buy mooncakes. So life has improved dramatically. We can make mooncakes for fun, and we can also bring these mooncakes to our family. So we want to have a try, and how about we join you and try this technique out? So I have some childhood memories, and you need to use the mold to leave a print on a mooncake. So we have another folk custom here. So when the moon is risen high in the sky, you need to put a plate of mooncakes and fruits right in the center of your courtyard to pay tribute to the goddess of the moon. This represents the great aspiration of people towards a better life, as the greatest poet Su Dongpo has written. I hope that this scenery can last long, and this moment will stay forever. Truly, this is a spirit of celebrating the tradition and marching towards the future. So fundamentally speaking, the mooncake festival and also the tide culture, they are very much correlated. The tide is just aggressive, very vibrant, but mooncake is very gentle, very soft. So they actually complement each other. And this represents the spirit of the locals here. It also represents how we cherish the life that we're having right now. This is so well said, and this represents the industrial spirit of the Pengbu people. So that is why this district is expanding dramatically. Exactly, yeah. I believe that the future of Pengpu will be even better. I sincerely hope that you can come here to travel, to start your business. This is the place that gathers all the guests here. So now tell the answer to the quiz that you just know. Well, I can actually tell you that there is the tide every day. If you live here, you can feel that there is this tide every day. And but the most spectacular time to observe the tidal bar is between August the 18th to August the 20th in China's lunar calendar. Alright, now let's take a screenshot with my phone and let's see which viewer is the lucky dog. And our cameraman, you can focus on shooting the mooncake making. So from where I come from, each year during the mooncake day, we pay tribute to the goddess of the moon, and we also place down fruits on a plate. Let's say hello to the viewers. Happy mooncake day, happy mid-autumn day. So this is handmade. We also enjoy the fruits of our efforts. So this is truly a great sense of achievement. So this is the most delicious. So later we're gonna get in contact with the lucky dog. I'll show you the screenshot I just took later. So let's have a bite of the mooncake. So this is truly delicious and very yummy. So do you like the mooncake? Try some mooncake. Our cameraman, do you want some mooncake? So gradually, we are attracting more people. You can see this lady is taking a very nice photo in Chipo. So let's have a photo together. So here, I'm getting jealous of the life here. And the people here are very generous and hospitable. And so this is truly only a miniature of the life here. So the Luo's house is a witness of their happy life, and actually one of my colleagues right now is observing the tide right now. He's joined by hundreds of the locals there. He's waiting for the tide. Now let's hand it over to him, and he's gonna give you a fantastic look of the tide. Dear viewers from CGTN, good afternoon. Welcome to Zhejiang. Welcome to Hangzhou. So this is the Pengbu sub-district. And we're going to give you the best position to observe the Qiantang tide. And let me give you some explanation why we have the best observatory place here. And in the north of Qiantang River, from far away, you can see this is the Zhejiang New District. And to the south of that is the Zhejiang Century Town, and this will be the place for the Asian Games in 2022. And so from here, we can take a look at the city, and we can also have a look of the tide. So this is the place that is most ideal for you to have a most comprehensive view of both the city and the tide. So coming to Zhejiang, you can take a close look at the relationship between the tide and the city. But here we're not just seeing the tide. we have with us one expert. He can answer a lot of the questions that you may have. So right now, you are welcome to leave your questions in a common area, because in a few moments we have a special program from the China Central Television, and so we'll bring you to the Qiantang Tide. And so, Mr. Xu, say hello to our viewers. Dear viewers, good afternoon. I'm from the Yongshao Research Institution. My name is Xu. So actually, before meeting Xu, I have collected a lot of questions. So each year when we talk about the Qiantang tide, we say that the tide this year is larger and more aggressive than last year. Is that truly the situation? Well, I think this is just our subjective observation, but in reality, sometimes in some years it's very big, some years it's not that big. So this has answered our question. So this is only our subjective feelings. So my second question. Well, before this program, I have done some homework. A lot of the people say that 2020, the tide is going to be a lot larger than last year's. Well, from our analysis, I believe this year we're going to have a bigger tide. And why is that? How can I prove that? So first, you can judge the tide by the height. And secondly, online, we have a couple of sites. You can see that we have a couple of sites that have been already sunk or destroyed by the tide, and the tide water even swam down to the road and sank a lot of cars. So the third question, I will need our cameraman to focus far away, and this is the place we went to 2 to 3 years ago, and we had a observatory site 2 to 3 years ago. That is the place where you can go 50 meters into the tide, and because the city is going to organize the 2022 Asian Games, so that place has become a must-go place for all the travelers. On August the 18th, on the lunar calendar each year, this is a place that you must go if you are in Hangzhou. And we talked about Yanguan and Laoyanchang, and also in Xiaoshan, and also in Qianjiang New District. So to observe the tide, we need to go to these places. Can we just observe the tide here? Yes, you can see the tide from here, but if our viewers travel back in time to Tang and Song dynasty, and then they can just see it from here. But from Ming and Qing dynasty, there is some change of the river shape, and as you have just mentioned, that those are the best places to observe the tide. And also in Tige, there is also a very good place. So we send out the invitation right now because we are soon going to have a holiday, the National Day holiday. A lot of the tourists who choose to come to Hangzhou, they dream to have a look of the Qiantang tide. Mr. Xu has given us the answer, and if we were in Song and Tang dynasty, actually from the riverbank you can see those tides. You don't need to go to those places, so you just need to pay particular attention to safety, and then you will enjoy the tide. So my last question, Mr. Xu, so we heard that there is this one line of tide, there is this cross tide. So I heard that the shape of the tide is going to change this year. Well, actually, it changes every day. So this one line tide, so that happens when there is very calm wind, there is the calm surface of the river, and we have S-shaped tide. We also have V-shaped tide. So in general, we have many different types of tides. And if you are at the beach, there is this cross tide. So the cross tide, they move in front of you, and they can form different shapes, and so they change. So just naturally. So where there is an obstacle, the tide is going to be pushed back, and the pushed back tide is also just a spectacular. And we also have those soaring tide and tide in collision. So those are different spectacles of the tide. So the tide is different in different days. So this is just very natural. All right, thank you very much, and sorry to stand between you and your dinner. So thank you very much. Bye bye. So now let's take a look at the Qiantang River. Let me tell you what we are waiting for. From the screen right now, you can see this Qiantang River, and right in front of us is a observatory deck right in the river. And so each year during this time of the year, the tide is going to come from the ocean. It's going to come into Zhejiang. So this is the first stop of the tide, and the farthest point is the Zhejiang New District, and the bridge right in front of us is Pengbu Street. So today, we are waiting for a late tide. We also call it night tide, as you know that there is two big waves or tides in a day, in the morning and also in the night. And they have an interval of 12 hours. And let me give you a quiz. What will be the shape of the tide today? In addition to this one-line tide, the V-shaped tide, or the pushed-back tides, or tides in collision, what will be the shape of the tide today? So because of the different situations on a river, there might be different shapes, and it is expected that at around 5:30, the tide is gonna come to where we are standing right now. We are now standing at the Qiga number 1 dam, and you can see this 20 meters long bridge. So this is actually a water observatory deck. This is a very significant place to measure the depths of the river. So let's take a guess. Will this tower be underwater in a few minutes? So as we have just told you, that each year the biggest tide comes on August 18th in Chinese lunar calendar, but for people here in Zhejiang, specifically for the locals living along the river, there is a tide each and every day. So even this is now August 18th in China's lunar calendar, but we are pretty close. Each year during August the 18th, there will be a huge crowd watching the tide. So you can turn the camera a little bit, you can see that within 10-20 minutes, there is a huge crowd gathering here. So each year we have a live program for the Qiantang tide, and you are already very familiar with the sites that we observe the tide, and this is the first time that I have come to this site. And as Mr. Xu has told you, that if you go back in time to Song and Tang dynasty, actually you can enjoy the tide from whatever place along the river. So this is the river bank, and you can see a lot of the locals from nearby, and they may have just had lunch, had dinner, and they just came here. So are you a local here? No. Sorry, I just told my viewers that you might be a local. Where are you from? I'm from Shanxi. Do you know what is tide? Yeah, I've seen that from TV and from TikTok. Are you sure that you watched that from CCTV news? Yes. So when a tide comes, and it's just aggressive and it's ferocious, it's just spectacular. Have you seen a tide by yourself? No? That's why I'm traveling here with my brother. Well, let me give you a quiz. We have left and right. Let me just give you a quiz. Where does the tide come from? from this side. So our cameraman, let's change the direction of the camera and let's. So you are telling me that the tide is going to come from here. Are you sure? Well, sort of. I think you're telling the wrong answer. The tide actually comes from this direction. It comes from east. It comes from the China East Sea, and then it's gonna rush to our position. So this guy here doesn't have much knowledge about the tide, and so I'm playing a supportive role as your teacher. I told you a lot of knowledge about this tide. Are you expecting this tide? Yes, that's why I have been waiting. So I'm kind of wondering, if it turns dark, what can you say in addition to the tide? Well, I can also take a walk nearby. Well, that's correct, but what do you think? What else can we expect in addition to this shape of the tide? Well, there's also this spectacular, ferocious vitality of the tide. Well, yes, you have just reminded us that when you are observing the tide, you have to pay particular attention to safety. And I believe later we'll have notices or reminders from those working staff. And so later when the tide comes, pay attention to your personal safety. All right, already we have those staff. They stand ready. And later when the tide comes, they're going to shout out attentions and reminders, reminding all the locals to pay particular attention to safety. So if we look to the left, this is the Binjiang Road, and it's actually called Binjiang East Road. So we have an open square. This is an open music square. So what is this for? So this is for entertainment. This is a ideal place for party. And so if the tide comes, the people can just sit on the steps and they can have the best view of the tide. Hi, hello. Are you here to watch the tide? Yes. Are you from nearby? Yes. You watch the tide from your childhood memory. Yes. So how was it like? Well, it's not as good as today. All right. So now let's just follow the staff. I think we are only 10 minutes away from the tide, and let's just follow the working staff here. Well, before we do that, let's interview another one. So are you from the Pengbu district? Yes, I live in Jinghua Jiayuan. So let me ask a couple of questions. So when you started to watch the tide, well, from a very young age, my father took me to Jiuqi. It's where I watched the tide from my childhood. So unlike all the viewers in front of the screen, you started watching the tide from a very young age. What was it like? Well, I remember it was very big, and each time we come here, we're gonna stand some distance away, and each time the tide comes, the fish is gonna be flooded to the riverbank, and when the tide recedes, we can just catch the fish from the riverbank. So I think you are very disappointed with today. Well, yes, because right now the tide has become smaller and seldom is fish flooded to the riverbank, and so that's why I watch a lot of TV. So, what TV channel do you watch? I just watch the local TV. Well, why don't you watch the China National Television? Well, I will do that later. So, do you think it's different watching from TV and watching here on site? Because this is a very important question. A lot of the viewers don't have a chance to come here. So if you are on site when a big tide comes, that's just spectacular. It's the sound, makes you very excited. But right now, we have been watching this tide for quite a number of years, and the biggest tide is always on TV. All right, thank you very much. And you have been reminding us that the tide these years are very small, but despite of this, you have to pay attention to safety. Keep a distance later when the tide comes. All right, now let's have a couple of words with our working staff here. So before coming here, I thought this is just a folk custom. I thought there is a slogan when the tide comes. And later I found I was wrong. Those are just the safety staff. Hello, hi. I know you're the captain of the team, and say hello to our viewers and tell us what you do here. Good afternoon. I'm the head of the team from Jiangsha of Pengbu district. I think the tide is gonna come in a few minutes, and I want to just follow your steps and have a short tour here. So now our camera is focusing on the other side of the river from Zhejiang Road. We can see a lot of volunteers, some observers, travelers. All right, now the captain is driving the car. We are now driving to the east of Zhejiang Road. We don't need to travel a long distance, but tell me, how far do you drive on a regular basis? So we cover only 5 kilometers. We go to the number 2 bridge. So what would you do when the travelers come? So we're simply gonna shout out the slogans or the reminders of safety. So I'm from the safety team, and pay attention to safety when the tide comes. Originally, I thought that this is a very permanent team, and later I learned that there is one minibus that is traveling between these 2 bridges, and you can very quickly and effectively remind those travelers to pay attention to safety. I also learned that you are backed by big data, and in Qiantang River, no matter it is in the south or the north bank, there are some surveillance cameras, and those surveillance cameras, they can tell you where there is a crowd. So the camera is going to tell you when a tide comes, what potential crowd there might be, and so the surveillance camera can give you commands where you need to go and what attention you need to pay. So because we are not on a minibus, so we can just turn around here, and so we're not going against the way. So today is now August 18th in Chinese calendar. So from where I was just standing, there might be a lot of travelers and observers. So each time I do the Qiantang Tide program, I came across a lot of travelers, and they ask me, when will the tide come today? Because most of these travelers, they don't know when the tide comes every day. Well, actually, I was told by the Qiantang River Management Bureau that they have a forecast about the tide into 1 week forward, and I had a lot of interactions with the netizens. What kind of tide we're going to have today? What kind of shape we're going to have today? So it's not a lot of people today. Yes. So when do you have the largest crowd on this site? Well, it's August the 18th each year in Chinese lunar calendar, because that is the festival for the tide. And here at where we are driving right now, it's filled, it's packed with people. It's maybe tens of thousands of people. So which means that you are doing a very important job. Yes. between August 18th and August 19th, the local police bureau, the urban managers are all dispatched here to just guarantee safety. All right, can you pull over from here? And I'm gonna step down and get ready for the tide. Thank you very much. And later you're gonna get a little busier because the tide is coming. All right, let's wait for our cameraman and let's stand ready. The tide comes very fast and let's not miss this. And I think it's 5:30. We have only 5 minutes to go. Let's turn to this direction. You can see that there are a lot of birds on a riverbank, and if you zoom in, you can see dozens of birds. I call it cranes. But it's actually not in a white color, it's in gray color. What are they doing? Well, they are waiting for the tide. They're waiting for the fish that is going to be flooded here when the tide comes. So when the tide comes, they're going to bring a lot of fish to the riverbank, and because the tide comes from China East Sea, and the tide is going to bring a lot of ocean fish to this port. Well, these birds, they're going to be served very well by the tide. I don't know what they are expecting, but definitely it's going to be a fantastic dinner for them. In a couple of days, we're going to have some warm-up programs for the Qiantang tide, and later you will be able to pick up a lot more knowledge about the tide, and these birds is part of them. And a couple of years ago, we got a chance to shoot from the helicopter, and we saw how these birds hunt those birds. So this is showing you how these birds are making the best use of nature. So now you see from the riverbank there are some very wet stuff. And what is that? So it tells you the morning tide came here today. So when the water recedes, some of the water will be kept there, and you see a lot of small ponds. Right now, the river bed is just very tall, and the water level is just not very significant, and that is why we see a lot of ponds on the riverbank. All right, let's zoom out and have a bird view of the Qiantang River. So the width of the river is 1.2 kilometers. So when a tide comes, when it passes the Pengbu subdistrict, very likely we're going to have a one straight line of tide. Well, let me tell you why in Zhejiang you can see the tide. Well, this is attributing to a lot of geographical factors, and you need to have the best timing. And the time, as we have been talking about, this is the August 18th in Chinese lunar calendar. On this day, the sun, the moon, and the earth, on one straight line. And because of the gravitational pull of the moon and the sun, the water is going to be affected, and so why there will be a very big tide. Now this is also because of the gravitational pull of the earth, and because we have a trumpet-shaped mouth at the Qiantang. This is the river mouth. So when the tide comes, meet this mouth, and the tide is locked there, and if you go further upstream, the river band is getting higher, and that is why the tide is gonna be like waves, one wave up after another. They are chasing the tide in front of them, and so it's actually not just on August 18th, as Mr. Hugh just told us. It's not just on August 18th. It's actually every day at this place. So right now from the camera we can see a very small fishing boat, and the fishing boat is maybe getting ready for the fish. So it's very risky, but why is this man here? Well, take a guess. Well, it's 5:29. In about 1 minute, the tide is gonna come. Where's the tide? The tide is supposed to come right now. So if we look further, according to the forecast today, right now the tide, when it passes the Hangzhou city, it doesn't generate any particular shape. So yesterday, I think, it was better, and so the tide is not showing any shape. But I can tell you, definitely there is a tide. But how big an impact does the tide have on the city? Well, I can tell you that each and every year there is a competition. There is the boating competition, a surfing competition on the river, and not so many places are able to accommodate this competition. So I was just reminded by our cameraman that there is one small detail. You can take a look at the water tower, the observatory tower, and so there is something like a bridge, and there are some waves near the column. You can see that the tide is coming, and the tide is, saying hello to all the viewers, and the tide is not very spectacular today. So let's just continue with the explanation. So each year at the Qiantang River, we have a Qiantang surfing competition. Each year we come and cover this sports game, but this year it has been cancelled. I believe it's going to be resumed next year. So at the Amazon River, if you surf, you see those very old forests. But in Qiantang River, if you surf, all you see is this new city look and the Asian Games village. So here it's totally a different look, and so this is the tide today. It's very slow, very gentle, and it's whistling to us very gently. But don't worry, in a couple of days, we're gonna bring you the best looks of the tide. We are approaching August the 18th. I have taken a look at the forecast, and I can promise you that there will be a lot more spectacular scenes to expect in a couple of days. So sorry we couldn't bring you this spectacular view today, but I have to tell you that we're gonna send a gift to some of the lucky viewers. As you know that the Hangzhou Cartoon Festival is drawing near, and this will be the first international cartoon festival organized by the local government here. And so sorry I cannot demonstrate this cartoon, this mascot to you. And let me just have a lottery. Let me just have a lucky draw today. And can you use one word, one character to describe the Qiantang tide? And you just need to put in one character, and later our assistant is gonna have a screenshot on the common area, and you will be receiving a mascot. I believe a lot of the viewers may be criticizing me in a common area because I promised you to have a look of the tide, but where is the tide? So, well, this is the lesson that we learned today, and before coming here, you have to look at the forecast. How big is the tide? How high is the tide? But let me remind you, no matter how big or small the tide is, pay particular attention to safety. All right. Consider this as a warm-up to the big tide in a couple of days. All right. Thank you very much for watching, and we look forward to the big tide. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.